Donald Jeffries. Author of Hidden History and Survival of the Richest. Host of The Donald Jeffries Show. Billy Ray Valentine. Host of the Infinite Fringe podcast. Researcher, truth seeker from the Bronx, New York. Tony Arterburn. Radio host, combat veteran, precious metals analyst, and alt historian. Together, they take on the headlines of the week, decode the disinformation, and plow through the mainstream propaganda. Unauthorized, unscripted, and unintimidated. This is America Unplugged.
What's going on? It's America Unplugged. Hope everybody is doing well. It's the War on Reality Report. Tony Arterburn, Don Jeffries is here. Big shouts to Tinfoil Hat Girl if you're listening. We are with you in spirit. Thank you so much for being so kind to us. Hope everything is going well over there. Tony Arterburn, the wisest of all the wolves. Say what's up.
It's great to be back. Yeah, I mean, apologies to Tinfoil Hat Girl. I know we talked about this off air. Billy and I were going to attend some events. I was going to be out of town. I can't even spare any more time. It's business calls my name. You should see my phone, what's going on with this monetary upheaval, this revolution of things. So yeah, I'm in the moment, folks.
It feels like everything is changing.
It is,
or has changed. That we have to use the proper verbiage to describe things, because otherwise people are going to think that things are still there, or we still have a shot at some. And even though we do still have a shot at some things to return them to some phase of normalcy, I think that things aren't changing. I mean, they are continuously changing, but they also have changed, and maybe forever. Some of these things are irreversible. And we've been talking about it here on America Unplugged for quite some time. Tony has committed the majority of his broadcasting career at talking about this. It's here now. For those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. And eventually, for those that don't, you're going to figure it out very quickly. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Don Jeffries, the legendary. What's up with you?
Good to be here, as always. Yeah, it does feel like something's changing. I don't know what it is, but as I said, I don't make predictions, but we know that after the dust settles from anything, that's why it's always best to hope that whoever's in power doesn't do anything. That's the best we can hope for, pretty much. That's why I understand the libertarians, whenever they do anything, that's when they get in trouble. So whatever happens can make things better.
Right. So we got quite a bit to talk about. I want to talk about Pete Hegseth and his assault on journalism. There apparently reportedly are only 15 people left to report on the Pentagon, and it's OAN and a couple of like foreign media, some other, I don't know who else, but the majority, almost every American outlet, including Fox News and Newsmax, of all people, Newsmax. When Newsmax is freaking refusing to do something, we have a problem. And they've all stepped away from the demands that Pete Hegseth has put on the press in order to be able to report from inside the Pentagon. We will talk about that in just a sec. I do want to talk about the monetary situation with Tony to lead off the show. And then we'll turn it over to Mr. Jeffries and we can talk about anything he wants to talk about. I do want to touch on Venezuela also, because that, I think, has the potential to kick off a kinetic war of some sort. Things are not good. Tony, what's up?
Venezuela certainly does. And I hope we get into that, because I think that's a really important story that's not getting a lot of play because it's a smaller country. We always have an issue with Venezuela, but I think it's a bigger piece of the puzzle as far as hemispheric energy dominance and something out of the post-Wolfowitz doctrine. I talked about that on my show a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't able to do it
here last week too.
Yeah, I wasn't able to do a show this past week, this past Thursday. Just got too busy. So a lot of that has to do with what's happening around the world as de-dollarization accelerates. And, again, we're not in the alarm phase yet where you're going to see, the threat of hyperinflation, but any event could trigger some sort of run on the dollar. There's this operation that's Operation Sandman, which is, some other big countries, big economies, Russia, China, et cetera, have this plan that they could initiate the collapse of the dollar by simultaneously sending, dumping treasuries and some of their U.S. holdings and other things if they ever had to. But I looked like, as far as the post 2022 world, this is what I'm going back to and seeing in my wheelhouse every day. When we put sanctions on Russia in 2022 and it backfired, when the ruble fell and then restabilized after they said, well, we're just going to peg certain amounts of rubles to gold, it'll be a ratio of grams or something like that. And I paid attention to that and I said, that is monumental. And these sanctions that we have 40 some odd sanctions on 30 some odd countries, maybe more now. So it's something that happened in 2022, I think was the tipping point. We used to have about 56% of the world's financial transactions went on in dollars in 2022. That was down from 75% in 2000. So, 22 years later, it was 50 some odd percent. Now it's in the low 40s. The dollar has lost over 45% of its purchasing power against gold in the last year. It's monumental. That's never happened before. Nothing like this has really ever happened before. So I think in a post-2022 world where these other countries said, fine, the Russian finance minister said dollars are candy wrappers to us. And we're really seeing that in real time, folks. And I'm watching it, and I think it's not just about the number go up. It's not just about the gold's price is going up or it's purchasing power is going up. It's not about that. It's about the loss of the system that we grew up with. And we're seeing it in real time. Look at the silver hit it broke its 45-year all-time high this past week. And I think we're just getting started. I don't even think we're even close. And Charlie Robinson sent me a text and he said, look at these people in India, and there's some reports in China, people lined up around the block buying gold. And I said, that's interesting because we don't do that here. And where people are selling, that's why I'm so busy. People are selling to me. So we got a double-edged thing. So institutions are buying. What do they know that you don't know? What do these giant multinational conglomerates know that you don't know? Because they're buying every ounce they can.
Let me add something to that, and you can give me your thoughts on it. Like, Americans are in dire straits. A lot of Americans. So anybody that's holding silver is a very volatile metal. It's up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Historically. So it hit its all-time high. People are like, let me cash out and get some money out of this. I think that's why they're selling to you. But entities like countries and central banks that have the means are going to buy, right? Because maybe they know, to your point, maybe they know something that we don't know, but we can't afford. Americans, the everyday American can't afford to speculate or to, they're thinking about the right now. What are we going to do now? How are we going to get money now? I need to do this. So I think that's why you're seeing an uptick on people selling to you right now, because it's, it's all-time high. Let's get some money right now. And back to 2022, I think you're right. That's when Biden weaponized the dollar. Of course, he's not the first to do it, but he did it at a time where it was ill-advised to do. And that set off a domino effect. A lot of countries, even just by seeing the actions that the United States took towards Russia, they're like, we can't rely on the United States. We can't rely on this to be the world reserve currency. So they went and bought up whatever they need to buy up. And now with Trump in office, they know for sure they can't rely on it. So it's only going to go up, right? Everybody's going to buy if they have the means. So there you go. Go ahead, Tony.
No, you're right. And that was the 2022 was a watershed moment. But I think all the acceleration, like gas on the fire, it came here in this past 11 months. And even leading up to the inauguration of Trump, it's funny. I was telling people at the end of last year, I said, hey, there's a bargain right now on gold and silver. This is psychological. So if you're going to get any, you should get some now, because, there was the inverse. Like crypto was up. Bitcoin hit 100,000 in December of 2024. And gold was down. Gold and silver both were down. It was it was the perceived notion that it's going to be strong crypto and all these deregulations and everything, and there's going to be trade, and we're going to be open for business. But it started The black swan event, I think, was the threat of tariffs everywhere. This has never happened before, like blanket tariffs or, using tariffs as another weaponization of the dollar by other means. So all of this has kicked off all of these unknowns. The markets hate uncertainty, and this is reflecting in that. But I think there's a method to this madness, in the sense that there's a controlled demolition of the system, and the transfers of wealth are happening. Think about this: if you have proximity, and if you're close to the money printer, and it spits out units of things that are worthless unless you give them psychological value, and you buy real assets with them, then you're going to be so much better. I mean, you're going to be in the ruling class for generations if you do that. And that's what they're doing. They're just resetting everything. It's called a great reset. And I don't know all the specifics of it. I just study it every single day. And I think there's an unraveling going on. I think a lot of even some of the bigger companies may be in trouble that deal in commodities. Some of the banks may be in trouble eventually. So there's a lot going on here. And I think it's probably one of the most important stories of our time, but we're more than halfway through the decade of the Great Reset, as I've called it. And I think it shows.
Something's happening for sure. Something's being reset. What's up, Don? How are you?
Yeah, no, I think obviously something. Maybe I'm amazed that DW is still listening to us. I can't believe people are listening. I don't know. That's pretty cool. It's nice to have some people out there to challenge us, so that's nice. Try to keep us on our game. I don't pretend to know much about silver or gold, any of those kind of things, but I do know about that kind of what Billy Ray alluded to in that bottom half of America. That's just there. It's the invisible part that's is always struggling, and they have less than 1% of the collective wealth. And I mean, I have a little money left in the stock market, but 90% of the stocks are owned by 10% of the people. So, really, it's an irrelevant thing, really, for most people that are struggling. And you still have 70-some% of people living paycheck to paycheck, have less than, depending on the source, $500 or $1,000, whatever, basically no savings. So, and that's the reality for half the country. So when we talk about, and that's why I always go back to those people, because everything you see, the entire culture revolves around the rest of us that aren't, quite, suffering to that degree. And of course, sponsored and, co-written by the people at the top who don't have to worry about a thing, who afforded all the wealth. So, but it's when you mentioned about Hegseth, and I think that what we're seeing here, I think, is how popular authoritarianism is with everyone. And, we just got, the left was very authoritarian, the woke left, and they were a new type of authoritarianism, but they wanted control. It's very, very reminiscent of back, I'm old enough to remember when the hippies were arguing with the World War II generation, the generation gap. And they both were authoritarians, because the World War II generation, still, they wanted the old, but they wanted their own way. They didn't want to change it. And the hippies wanted everything changed. And they thought everything they did was stupid. And, and then those hippies grew up and became the crazy left we know. And they did change a lot of stuff, but it was all about controlling. That's authoritarianism. And now you see the right, the Trump kind of right, where you get a guy like Hegseth, who I knew nothing about him, and the fact that he was on Fox News sometime as a commentator. I didn't think much of him other than that, but apparently he's got this real strong authoritarian streak, and I guess Trump loves that. And so now it's about controlling something else. So it's all about controlling the people that you disagree with, and nobody believes in free speech. The right is made abundantly. They don't believe in free speech either. So we're in tough times, man, because there's nobody that believes in tolerance. The first, Trump 1.0 spent a lot of times trying to be, kind of making a deal and negotiator, where he did talk diplomacy. He very famously, one of his finest moments was when he had that summit with Putin that the left excoriated him for. And, the diplomacy is always good. And he was going back and forth with Kim, the crazy guy in Korea. And Trump is just as crazy, but they were going back and forth, and Trump would thread. But ultimately, he was trying to engage in some kind of diplomacy. He was doing that for a long time. And even, I don't know what you guys can maybe know more about it than I do. I guess we should have talked about that. The Mideast peace deal that apparently Israel's already broken, to no one's surprise. But at least, Trump still has a little of that in him, I think, where he wants some kind of diplomacy, but he's so much other madness around him and so many contradictory things he's doing that nobody pays attention to it. So I don't know. Like I said, he's got over 3 years left in this. I don't know which way the country's going, but you're blowing up Venezuelan boats and you're still in bed with Israel, even though you looked like you tried to broker a peace. But if you really wanted that, then you would realize, okay, for the millionth time here, Israel's not going to be listening to anything. They're going to do whatever the hell they want, which they've already done. So, but he can't do that because we're in bed with Israel, and that's what part of the problem is. And the cultural problem you're saying is that that's being exposed, and more people. It's not just the squad. It's not just Ilhan Omar or people like that, the Palestinian students and things like that. It's a lot of people on the right that are realizing, these people are completely unreasonable, and we have everything is committed to them. So we can criticize, we can say anything we want about America, but we can't say anything about Israel. What the hell sense does that make? It makes no sense at all. We've been co-opted by that. So hopefully there'll be more and more exposures about that. But as far as the money stuff, I don't know. I just try to hold on to what I have and hope that the real estate market doesn't collapse, because if that happens, you're going to have a lot of those people like me that are not in that bottom 50%. They're going to drop right down there, because that's most of our net worth, with those hundreds of thousands of dollars of really imaginary worth that are in equity. Because if the market changes, it's not like it's a value. That's gone. No, you didn't have $800,000 of equity. Now you have $50,000. And that could easily happen. I don't think that'll happen, but I'd live in fear of that, because there's so many people who would be like me that would, lose most of our net worth. So anyhow, that's my long rambling way of, I guess, commenting on it.
Shouts to my baby, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're looking very sexy nowadays. Really appreciate you. What happened?
Going cuter every day, isn't she?
Strange bedfellows, right? Opposites attract is what they say. Not so opposite nowadays, Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene. All jokes aside, I really think some of these people were true believers. And still, it's hard to break away from that. Like she's still pro-Trump in a lot of ways, but she's seeing things now from the inside, and it's like, maybe this isn't what I thought it was. And that's when the shift starts coming in, At least that's what I would like to think, given what's going on with her and what she's been saying. But big shouts to her. You're looking great, babe. Telling you, man. Very, very happy. Fantastic.
You should take, for a first date, Billy, you should take her out to go see those Jewish lasers. I mean,
you can talk about that. Yeah.
Can you hook that up? Sponsored by Wise Wolf. We can live.
Yeah, I mean, Wise Wolf presents Billy and Marjorie B&M.
The space.
That would be a great reality show to have AOC and MTG. I think that would be great. Somebody ought to sponsor
I don't want to mix those two worlds right now.
It needs to be like MTV style, real world too.
MTV doesn't exist
they're
anymore.
forced to stay in the same house, and they have little petty arguments, but it'd be interesting.
Anyway, we don't want to merge those two worlds right now, Don. You're making it very difficult on me. All right. Only 15 reporters remain in the Pentagon. This is according to The Independent, but it's been reported by every outlet on the planet. After press pledge prompted walkout. Here's what we know, pretty much is what they're saying, but there's one little paragraph that sums it up nicely for people that don't know anything about it. It says, among the new rules laid out by Hegseth, 21-page policy, which he gave credentialed journalists until Tuesday evening to acknowledge, and they did not, was a ban on reporters soliciting any information, classified or otherwise, from government employees without prior authorization from the Pentagon. So they pretty much telling you that whatever we want you to know is what we want you to know, and whatever we don't want you to know, you won't know. And it is illegal for you to do so. This is what your warrior ethos head of the Department of War has put out right now. Saying that so no one signed up for it. So big shouts to Fox News and Newsmax. Good for standing up for something. Newsmax doesn't stand up for much. So I'm glad they actually did that and said, no, that's not cool. Maybe that's one of the wake up moments some people believe need here, something like that. OAN, of course, bootlicking OAN, disgusting filth rag of an outlet. OAN decided that this was a good thing and signed up, and they are in there now. So you want to get your state sponsored news, go over to OAN and you will hear everything that fits in your world narrative. Tony Arterburn, what's up? What are you thinking about this story?
Well, it's like the Soviet Union had Pravda and Savestia. Pravda meant the truth, and Savestia meant news in Russian. And the people said there's no truth in Pravda and there's no news in Savestia. And I think it's just another nail in the coffin of a free press, of finding the truth at all, if that even exists anymore as a goal with the press. I mean, I applaud those organizations that walked away from that and really condemn Hegseth and the leadership of the pentagram. That's, something, the pentagram that was formed on September 11th, 1941, 60 years to the day before whatever hit it on September 11th, 2001. It's so disappointing. I mean, you think of
yes, it really is.
And I have friends, dear friends, that are in veteran cemeteries that believed in the Constitution of this country, of the United States of America, the Republic, of the Bill of Rights, and what makes us unique, and what this experiment was all about, and what this country was worth fighting and dying for. Was this country worth fighting and dying for some sort of hopped up, pipe dream, authoritarian, thuggish, fascistic system? What the hell is this for? I mean, if we don't find the truth, if we don't have disclosure on our end of something to know what we're doing, then what is all this for? It's for the whims of what? More bankers' wars? Think about this. Think about the $2.3 trillion that Donald Rumsfeld lost, right? The Pentagon, they couldn't find it. And then, the next day was 9/11, and that $2.3 trillion is nothing compared to what we're going to lose going forward, ladies and gents. So don't even look there. It's up to alternative media to find any of this stuff. And alternative media has been checked out for a while. We're playing team sports, or we're trying to, see who's related to Bigfoot and all the other things that, not that I like Bigfoot, but that's, I like Bigfoot a lot better than most things. But you know what I mean? Like it's a joke in and of itself. It's become a caricature. So it's just a sign of the times. And think about this. This is a precedent. All of this stuff, and I said this last week, and I continue to, because this is a blurb. And you may disagree with me, Billy, and I know Trump 2028, and they're going to sell the hats and Steve Bannon and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think Don would agree with me that this country is really not, from the Immigration Act 1965 through the fall of the Soviet Union and the Cold War and everything that's happened for us, and the demographic change. And not only that, but the mindset change, universities, all that. I think that it would be next to impossible to continue a legacy of this sort of politics, especially since whatever the Republican Party is, or what it's a vessel for, which usually is losing and raising money. That's what they've been my entire life. When I was a kid, it's losing and raising money, and or starting a war and then losing. So that's what it's been my entire life. And they're really great at playing a victim and fundraising, and especially in places like Texas where they did nothing. But I think that this is a blurb. This is a flash in the pan. And then what's coming next is the uniparty. It's the, one party to rule them all, which will be what California looks like. It's going to be Newsom's and stuff like that. And they'll use all of this precedents being set under the banner and guise of kindness for the children, and we're inclusive, and it'll be all of this stuff. And then MAGA will be standing there going, well, I don't believe in that, but you got no room to stand on. You just went and you cheered on an authoritarian. Yep. You cheered on all this stuff for years, and you let it pass, and you didn't stand up. So you're going to, just like there's no ACLU and all that, they don't have muscle memory for standing up for themselves. That's why these governors and other, like these mayors in these blue states where they want to send DHS and the military, is like, well, you didn't stand up for states' rights and states' powers. So now it's like trying to find, an old skill that you lost. So I think this is a precedent, and I think this will in 3 years, President Newsom and those are that's a more likely scenario than some sort of continuation of whatever MAGA is or whatever this is. In my opinion, I think all this is just laying the groundwork for the uniparty.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with Tony, and this is what we're talking about. Somebody like me, I'm a populist, and I don't like this kind of behavior on the left or the right. And why I was drawn to Trump in the first place was because the left had become so authoritarian and so insane in many ways with some of the things they were pushing. But while this might not be classically insane, what Hegseth and these people are doing, it is definitely authoritarian. And when you do it under the guise of the pentagram, which I like that, Tony, you start calling it that. So it's completely militarized. It's scarier than ever, and it just amazed me because everything that's happening now in the Trump administration, I don't think there's one thing that's happening that is even remotely related to anything he campaigned on. He has taken an incredibly dark turn, and again, I say it began with the Epstein list. Something at that point, the script writers decided to take a sudden, shocking turn or something, because he has been completely different than when he lashed out at the reporter very uncharacteristically, kind of lost his cool and said, "I can't believe you're asking me about Epstein." Pretty much the same time he bombed Iran and made himself look so foolish and like such a puppet of Netanyahu. And nothing has been there, and it continues to do things like lash out at Thomas Massey, who he should be. That's the best and the brightest the Republican Party has. That's their only real star. I mean, MTG is pretty good, but Thomas Massey's a statesman. He's probably the only statesman we have in Congress. And for this clown to go after him like that is unbelievable. And and I've commented on this before, but the way Trump is behaving, and I still don't know again how much is really happening. Because again, so much shit. Now, this is the Pentagon thing. That's very disturbing. And that has actually happened. It's not really, anything that's an action other than it's stopping reporters. But, all it does pretty much is just stop them from claiming something's fake news or whatever. That's pretty much what he would be doing. Now he really can't do that, I guess. But I don't know who they think supports this. And I'd like to see if maybe a substantial number of the MAGA people do support it. But when Fox News doesn't, go, because you can't be much more loyal to Trump than Fox News has been, especially since Tucker Carlson's gone. I don't know. I hope this kind of blows up. But at this point, the Trump character, he's becoming everything that the left claimed he was going to be. All the things that I used to hate when Jimmy Kimmel and all those, Stephen Colbert, all those people did their monologues every night, which were basically Democratic Committee, National Committee talking points, and Trump this, Trump that. And I think painted a picture of him, which was unfair because he never really did much. But now he's starting to do stuff. And it's like he is trying to, okay, I'm going to be what you guys thought I was going to be. And I don't know if that's I think that's part of the act, because I don't think Trump does anything on his own, because these people are ordered. But it's very disillusioning. And I don't know how anybody can look at that and see, I said before, I think the only good thing that could maybe come out of all this is that maybe RFK Jr. can get some little small thing done that's good for, in terms of food and water, maybe. And I don't even know if that's the case. I don't even know, like everything around Trump, I don't really know about the vaccine. Some people claim, no, he hasn't done this. He has done this. I don't know. Who knows? But I do know if I look at the list of ingredients of food and stuff and I start seeing some of those dangerous things gone, that'll be something good. I don't know if that's going to be allowed to happen, though. And I think he's kissing Trump's ass harder than ever, because I think he desperately wants to keep his job. But just a sad story. And again, we have over 3 years left of this stuff. And what's amazing is that with Trump doing all this, he's not getting the kind of opposition he did in the first administration from the Democrats. The Democrats were going after him over a stupid phone call to Ukraine, and I don't even know what they impeached him for the other time, but they were looking for anything, and Russia, and all that stuff. Now they're just they act like they're kind of scared of him. They're going to have that No Kings protest thing. In fact, there's going to be one. Our friend Vince Agnelli was saying I should go up there and film it. I don't know if I want to. It is near me. They're having at least one there. So, but other than that, I mean, I don't know. Where are the pussy hats? Where's George Soros when you need him? I mean, why isn't he funding crazed mobs out on the street now. If now's the time to do it. I mean, not before. Nothing was going on there except you were, upset at Trump's stupid tweets. Now, this this has potential. He's bombing boats and maybe getting us in a war with Venezuela. He's got Hegseth. I think the most dangerous thing Hegseth said this week was when he came out in public and said, maybe we ought to go on and join Ukraine and get on the side and go, basically saying we should go to war with Russia on Ukraine's side. Yeah. That's, I think, more dangerous than even what he's doing with the press. But our press is hard to defend because, I think they're just a lying lot. They're state-sponsored media. So, I don't know what they're objecting to because they do what the government says all the time anyhow. But they're just making it official. But it's a sad situation. And I do think it's funny that the most despised man in America, I mean, do people just won't protest unless George Soros pays them? I don't know. I mean, where are all these protests? They should be there. You should see more than you've ever seen right now, just because of what's happening in terms of after he bombed Iran. Now he's really jumping in on the side of Ukraine, which contradicts everything he said. The Pentagon thing, where he's basically they won't let reporters ask questions, I guess. All the stuff is very disturbing. And where was Doge? What happened to Doge? That was the best thing about this administration. Maybe it's completely disappeared. No one was, whatever fraud they claimed they found, no one was prosecuted or for it, and they stopped looking for it, I guess. These were some good things he was doing. They're all gone. He took that turn at the Epstein files, and now he's decided this is a good political position to take. I'm against this. I don't want the Epstein files released, even though I'm not on them, of course. That doesn't make me look guilty. I don't want that. And, I think we should go to war with Venezuela because Venezuela's about Iran. What the hell has Venezuela ever done to us? I mean, what's even the possible reason there? But this is all very bad, and it's a shame. And as a populist, it's his entire everything that's going on is cringeworthy at this point.
All right, a couple of things. So back to the demographic point that Tony made. How can we still hold those beliefs after the 2024 election? I don't understand how one reconciles with the other. That theory no longer holds any weight. If we're talking about the demographic changes, that is for voting purposes, right? That's what we're talking about. So if we're going to lend credence to that argument, to that theory that the demographic changes in the United States will lean left and it's being done on purpose, and that's why they're bringing in immigrants in order to vote in that manner. This is assuming elections are legitimate because that's the only way this argument works.
Yeah, let's suspend disbelief first, and then
it's assuming elections are legitimate, right? Then it doesn't hold up after the 2024 election because Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and he did win the popular vote, not by much, but he won it. And there were what was it, 80 million people that voted for him, give or take. That's a lot of people, right? So that doesn't exactly hold weight anymore. Also, it's important to not give these people a pass. And I understand, Don, that you are, and that's what I love about you. You're openly saying it. You don't try to hide it. You're like, yeah, I'm a JFK fanboy. I'm an RFK fanboy or whatever. But it's important not to give this dude a pass. He's not sacrificing himself for the good of the people. Let me suck up to Donald Trump so I can get one thing passed. No. That's not what's happening here. Let's remember he went over to Kamala Harris too. And submitted and said, hey, use me as you will. Trump actually bought into it. He's there now. And he is doing us a massive disservice. So if we get one thing, how many more bad things do we get from RFK Jr.? He's doing us nothing. So we need to hold him accountable for that and say, hey, no, this guy is not a sacrificial lamb. This guy is not, because we don't even have any proof of that. That goes back to QAnon 4D chess style things. So he's sacrificing himself for us. And he's kissing up to Trump. He doesn't really want to do it, but he's kissing up to see what he can do. There is zero evidence of that. All I got is this guy wants power, and he's got it. And he's saying everything they want him to say. That we can prove. You know,
well, I think he says a lot of stuff they don't want him to say. Again, it's trying to figure out what is happening.
I just want to finish all my thoughts.
Okay.
You put out all your stuff. I just want to get all my stuff out, and then I'll give it right back to you, and you can tell me whatever. I have to write notes because otherwise it's going to leave my mind. You know, so when you guys were talking, I was jotting down a couple of things. Trump 2028. I want to get to that, and that's also very and Tony, I understand your point. I do, right? And I understand how it could seem far-fetched that this guy's going to want to stick around, or that he's going to stick around after 2028. I understand that to a degree. But they're openly saying it now. We should take them at their word, just like they openly and Donald Trump was denying it during the campaign, but Steve Bannon was openly saying that Project 2025 was a thing. These people are openly saying that they're going to run again in 2028. Why should we not believe them? Why do we think that they plan on ever giving up power to the Democrats? Do you understand what kind of prosecutions these people are going to face when the Democrats get into power? If that ever happens again, I don't think they mean to give up power. This is why they're doing everything that they're doing. I don't think they mean to give it up. Hold on. Let me play Steve Bannon real quick. I have this up on my computer.
President Trump will run and win again in 2020.
Come on. Hold on. Let me see. I've had this up on my computer for some time. Let me see if it allows me to. Good Lord, it went to a different clip. Well, here it goes. Okay.
Run and win again in 2028.
How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it.
We have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again.
I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do.
The chief executive is limited in his role with regard to elections, except that where there is a threat to the national sovereignty of the United States.
And that's it. That's the key right there. And if I could rewind it, I would. That is the key right there. This is what I believe they are going to use to suspend elections in the United States, unfortunately. And if you do not think that is a possibility, you don't get what these people are doing. You don't understand it. They are actively going into blue cities with the military, with the National Guard. They're normalizing this sort of stuff. Why? Why are they doing it? He does not mean to leave in 2028 if he's still alive. And even if it's J.D. Vance, I think they're going to try to pull something. Steve Bannon has openly said it. I am working on it. We are working on it. And he flirted with the idea live in front of worldwide cameras when Trump was in the Oval Office with Zelensky, and he told him, oh, so all I have to do is start a war and then there's no elections? It was in a joking type fashion. But here you saw, and I can produce 10 other clips of Steve Bannon saying, we're going to do this. Believe him when he says he's going to do it. They are at least going to try. They do not mean to give up any power. This is why they're gerrymandering a ton of states now. They know that in a regular election, they'll probably lose, at least the House. But they're gerrymandering states because they're rigging the election in front of your face. Meanwhile, we're stuck on 2020, something that we can't prove. We can prove this. It's happening in front of our eyes. They do not mean to give up power. We can't lose sight of that. And while I understand that some people, hey, listen, I'd love it if he stepped aside. Gavin Newsom is an enemy that we can go after. He will return things to normalcy. We will have a shot at pushing back, unless he goes full-blown authoritarian too, which is a possibility. Because if we're going to go by the precedent style that Tony laid out, that's what we're getting, right? And we're never going to go back, ever. But I don't think the Trump regime seeks to give up power. If Trump is alive in 2028, he will not leave office. I can confidently say that given the history. I don't think I got anything else. I might have something else, but I'll get to it later. What's up, Don? And then we'll go to Tony.
No, well, I now we're kind of off the RFK thing, but yeah, I am a fanboy of his, and I just do think that he, we'll see what happens there, but I still think he's the best appointed. He and Tulsi are better because these are usually the worst people in the world that get appointed to these things. So we'll see if anything good comes out of it. But it's hard to tell what's really out of it. But I agree. I mean, I can't disagree with anything else much that you said, Tony. I don't know, but I do, and I think Tony agrees with this. Is that I think that the fact Trump won so convincingly, given the changes in demographics and the fact so many illegals were supposedly voting openly, I can't believe anything voted for Trump. Maybe they did, who knows? But he's got support there. But I think it just kind of proves that this last election was pretty suspicious too. And I think Tony feels the same way.
Well, I think your whole point too, Billy, about the staying in 2028 is that I don't give 0% credence to that. It's more than zero, and
yeah.
It's more than because I think there's a glitch in the simulation of. I mean, everything's on the table. If you think that you can go by history alone and show like, oh well, it's going to be a lot like tomorrow's going to be a lot like today because yesterday was. It's not really happening that way anymore, and I think everything's on the table. So you're not wrong there. My point with the demographics and where we're going in a coast to coast California is look at what happened in 68 and 72 with Nixon and then again with Reagan in 80 and 84. They were both natives of California. Reagan had been governor, Nixon had been senator, and they both, sweeping victories. Reagan in 84 against Mondale had a 48 state landslide. I think he was even bigger than what Nixon's was in 72. Against McGovern. So I think this is an important point to make because that demographic and the way that California looks now is being spread all over the rest of the continental United States as far as like the blue cities and the way that people, the commute for work and everything about modernity, and that's being spread around. I think that the most suspicious thing about the last election was the absolute stand down by the Democrats. But they tried to lose. They tried. It's like they're just leaning into first. You got, you're propping up Biden and he's the best Biden ever. And you got Joel Scarborough saying he's cogent. He's our guy. I can't believe how smart. And then a month later, they're like, it's really time to resign. That's what they were doing, and they just came out, and stabbed him in the back. And then Kamala Harris is like, "We're going to call the psychic hotline for your taxes because we're going to see what you're going to be owing in the future if you even, It's like she was going like making Karl Marx look libertarian in a lot of ways on the tax code stuff and just scaring the hell out of people.
Was she wrong?
Was she wrong? About the tax code?
Was she wrong about quote unquote scaring the hell out of people? She was right about a lot of things. We can play it here. I've played it on my show, but she literally said he's going to turn the military against you.
That part. Yeah, I'm talking about her policies were like, what is,
that's coming around too. She was right. She was right about so much, and it's hard for so many people to come to terms with that. Because the actual thing is Democrat derangement syndrome.
Well, hey, look,
I don't care if she was right or wrong. I mean, I don't care if
proven right.
She's right. Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
Not that I've been much further away from you. I think that you're going to be proven right on a whole host of a lot of these issues. And by the way, they're just proving your point for you. I mean, Hegseth with the pledge and the oath and the everything at the pentagram. That's just another example. Or does everybody else feel? Like imagine being a voter in 1916 and hey, I got to support this PhD for re-election, this Woodrow Wilson guy, because he says he kept us out of war. So you vote for him again, 1916. He kept us out. That was his slogan. He kept us out of World War I. He kept us out of war. And then the first thing he does post-inauguration, because they used to have the inauguration on March 4th, and FDR did away with that. So right after March 4th, 1917, boom, we're in this thing. And he uses the Lusitania that happened 2 years prior as the the catalyst for the event when everybody knows is the Zimmerman telegram and the Balfour Declaration. All that stuff's baked into it. So you have to figure out, looking back, hindsight, we were all duped. I mean, I'm not a partisan. That's where ideas go to die. But I was hoping that maybe this is going to be, maybe we are going to end the war with Russia. Maybe we are going to end, this a big portion of the outdated American empire. Maybe we are going to bring back jobs. Maybe we are going to do that. Maybe, but we're not. So just go ahead and suck that up now. If you thought that was going to be the way it is, what we are heading into is a controlled demolition of sorts, a creative destruction, if you will.
Yeah, man.
Something like that. And it's not what you voted for if you voted.
It absolutely sucks, man.
When he talked about Kamala Harris, you were right, but it was hardly, they all were saying that. And this is my point, is that Trump is acting like, okay, this is what the script says now. Okay, I've got to do what they said I was going to do.
Right.
I don't think he showed it, and I don't think he showed indications really of doing that before, because he had been so, inactive and saying he's going to do something and then backing off and flip-flopping. But what I want to know is, one thing he has done that the left should be celebrating is he's now standing with Ukraine. What happened to hashtag stand with Ukraine? Why doesn't Hollywood love him for that? Because now he's saying they might even go to war with them. I mean, it kind of, but they're not really criticizing the same way. And the whole thing is a mess. But I am dubious about the fact that he was able to win so big. And said I didn't just say that. I wouldn't just say that one election was rigged. I mean, I think they've also been dubious since the landslide Lyndon Johnson, at least, back in the 50s. But this one, I think, just it doesn't equate with reality in terms of why. And again, as Tony said too, the response doesn't make any sense. After 2016, and I've written about all that. I had that in my Trump section. I don't know what's ever going to happen with that, but because he lives in, he just keeps going on and on like an Energizer bunny. But you had instant, from the when he was even inaugurated. Remember, he had threats of the inauguration. They were going to, Hollywood was making threats. They're all threatening to move. Well, they all do that. And then you had the pussy hats out in the street. You didn't know that this time. I didn't see a single pussy hat anywhere. Nowhere. No transgenders getting upset. And they just rolled, and they could have easily said the same things Tony and I are saying. Hey, this is ridiculous. How could he possibly have won this? This is with the way we've changed America. How could this possibly happen? They would elect this big orange doofus guy. But somehow they did. And I don't know, somebody in there talked about they live in California, and Gavin Newsom is not. I don't know what you think Gavin Newsom is. I mean, I don't live in California, but
no, it's what she hears. I mean, it's what people are, and I kept the comment up for a reason. How are you? Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. And thank you for all the positive support you lend the show. But this is an important comment. Says, I love how people who don't live in California talk about Newsom being some crazy authoritarian when that's not even close to reality. And perception is what it is, right? But I understand, especially with what they say about New York. They talk about New York, and this is a recent phenomenon. Like, people are being told to say this, and they regurgitate it. Unfortunately, that's the case. Go back to before 2008, and people weren't like, oh, I can't live in New York. I don't want to live in New York. I hate New York. But now that's all people say if they rest on that side, on the right side of the aisle. For the most part, not everybody. There are exceptions, and this is what KLL88 is trying to say. Like, I live here in New York. They're calling Mom Donnie a communist here. I'm like, that's absolutely ridiculous. I see Sam Tripoli, who has absolutely no idea what the fuck he's talking about, saying all types of shit online about New York. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about, dude? I invited him onto America Unplugged. He never responded to me. He responds to me for other things. When I ask him to come on America Unplugged, he does not. I would love to have a conversation with him about what he thinks is going on in New York, because he is categorically wrong. But the rest of the world is going to believe what they're going to believe. So I love that comment. Thank you so much, because we share that. California, New York, Chicago, a couple of more liberal cities around the United States. We share that now because of the political issues that have been inserted because of the mind colonization and the psychological warfare. This wasn't a thing before, at least not to this degree. Now there's obvious hatred and it's splitting the country. There are two different United States at this point.
Oh, of course. But you have people on the left saying the same thing about Florida, a place like that. It's the same kind of thing. We are.
It's not exclusive to one side, Don.
Yeah,
this is
completely
a
divided.
psychological operation on the American people. So it's not exclusive to one side. And just because one side does it doesn't mean it excuses the other side from doing it.
But here's what they all agree on, Billy Ray. Look at Peter Seacash.
What's up,
They
Pete?
all agree on that. Newsom's working to install an anti-Semitism officer in every public school. That's one thing they agree on.
I would like to flesh that out at some point. Let's do that. We can talk about it.
I saw an interview recently where Newsom was being asked, a reporter asked him about AIPAC. And this was so, he was like, pretty much, except for not getting angry, very much like Trump and the Epstein files. Nobody's listening to AIPAC. It's so long. I mean, come on, man. He's like an AIPAC guy right behind you with a gun to your head, like all these other guys. So didn't Newsom legalize shoplifting? Is that a myth too?
I don't know if that's a myth or not. Israel is a common theme with the Uniparty. The military industrial complex is a common thing with the Uniparty, with the Democrats and the Republicans. And this was something that we were able to push back on at one point, right? If we actually came together, and we looked like we were going in that direction for a little while, no matter if there was a Republican. What is he saying? What
he said? Sam Tripoli is beholden to his backers at Wise Wolf Gold.
So this was something that we could push
really
back on at one point, but now when the American people are under attack, which is what's happening now with MAGA, it kind of puts everything else, in jeopardy. Like, how can we look out for ending unjust foreign policy when we're under attack here ourselves? And I think that's the difference between MAGA and the Democrats and the Republicans. There is a clear difference between MAGA and Republicans. We need to keep doing that. The uniparty that's coming, we had a uniparty already with the Democrats and the Republicans. The new uniparty is MAGA. That's what it is. And I do think they're a minority in the country, but are they going to let go of power? Is something completely different. And I don't think they aim to do that. Somebody in the chat said that the protesters today at what is it? The No Kings protest.
Yeah.
The millions and millions and millions of protesters are paid. Please do me a favor and next week, come back on America Unplugged. Get me the receipts. There's millions of them. I'm sure you can produce one of people that have been paid by George Soros to go protest. Please, I'd like to see that. Give me receipts, and then we can talk about the validity of the nonsense. And I don't mean something you're making up with ChatGPT. Okay, we're gonna sort that out in a second. All right, just if these millions and millions of people are paid, I'd like to see it. Plus, I was gonna go down there. I didn't get my paycheck. Doge, where is my $5,000 paycheck? It's really overdue. I would like it. Don said that we were going to get an additional $2,000 last week. That is $7,000. I want my check, please.
Well, Trump's considering it. He's considering. He takes a lot of time. He does a lot of considering.
Don Jeffries, Tony had to step away. I mean, maybe he'll come back and say, because he has to go open the shop. Maybe he'll come back and say what's up to the people.
Well, Jackson T. Barrett says my audio sucks week after week, and I got this nice new microphone courtesy of Tony, and nobody else is complaining about it. Jackson, so
it's good today. Yeah, it's good today. It went in and out for a little bit, but most of the time it was good. I thought it was good. You sound clear as day to me, sir. I'll tell you because I don't want it to sound bad. I think it sounds fantastic. I think you sound very, very good, very clear. Tony, Don sounded well today, right?
He's sounding good.
Yeah,
I think we still have a bandwidth issue.
Yes,
I think there's a bandwidth issue. I don't think it's a mic issue.
But he sounds.
Are you using the Rode mic?
Yeah. I'm using it. Yeah, I'm using it. So
it's like it sounds really good for a minute, and then it'll kind of space out a little bit. So that seems to me like a bandwidth issue. We got to get
Don Jeff. All right, let me get Tony first because he has to go open brand new branch. Wise Wolf Golden.
Yeah, saw the pictures of that. Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Very cool.
Okay. Balancing it.
Look at that.
Becoming an economic force.
Good for you, Tony. We are incredibly proud of you and very happy for you at the same time, sir. Tell the people where they can find you and everything you got going on.
You can find me at my website. Just go to tony.gold. You don't even have to work out how to spell my last name. It's arterburn.gold, but tony.gold works, and you can find a link to all my shows and my business and what I do. And you should check out Wolfpack. It sponsors this program, and that's a monthly subscription to precious metals, physical precious metals delivered to your door. If you signed up a few years ago, you're doing really well. Congratulations.
Good. Don Jeffries, what's up, sir?
People, the only place I'm, not shadow ban is Substack. So support me there. You can subscribe to me at donaldjeffries.substack.com. I protest, just like the weekly audio. And that's Jackson. But isn't he the one that's kind of a troublemaker? I mean, today, Jackson, but you do keep showing up here. But I appreciate. Then later he says, "I explained the problem, and you keep ignoring it." I'm not ignoring it. I don't know what I've done. Pat, I don't know 3 months. I've had the cable people out here. They tell me, I don't know what can I do. I want to sound okay too, but I get sometimes people say I sound fine. It's only sometimes. So
no, you sounded good today. You sounded good today, Don. I had to scroll up after he was like, "Fix it." I explained the problem. I'm like, damn, what was it? It's the audio visual department at American Unplugged, Mr. Jackson T. Barrett. What's going on? Thank you for giving
now that Tony is he's branching out and taking over the country, taking the country by storm. We'll probably have a superior audio visual squad here, so we can look forward to that. But Substack's the way to go. Please subscribe to me on Substack.
All right. Colin Wysong was in the chat. I saw my guy Colin. He says Kamala was right because she knew the playbook. She did know the playbook. It was Project 2025. More than 50% of it has been completed in only 8 months. You talk about efficiency. It's the only thing they've actually been efficient on. They're actually doing that. All right. Let me say what's up to the chat before we get out of here. Tony, if you got to go open up, go ahead, buddy. We appreciate you. Jesus is in the chat. Oh my God. So what do we owe the honor? Jesus Hendricks. What's going on? Harps 666 in Australia that doesn't exist. Come on. We're over the shit already. What's up, buddy? Thank you for tuning in from Connecticut. Jackson T. Barrett, Pam ZZ Twisted is in the chat. Carson Jeffries, is that related in any way to Don Jeffries?
I don't know. We all talk about cousin Hakeem, who's achieved great success, but I don't know about Carson. I don't know.
Is that an illegitimate Don Jeffries son?
Yeah, this could be. It could be
from your wild times in the 70s. I believe it.
Right.
It wouldn't, right. I wouldn't go over my head. Any word is in the chat. We saw Karen Carpenter in there earlier. Peter Seakosh, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Ashley was in the chat. Kian is in the chat. Akum, what's going on? How are you? Good to see you. And now it's repeating. So if I missed, Piper, what's up, Piper? How are you? How are you doing?
Good, Piper.
Pat the plumber, what's up, Pat? How are you? Rocky USA, what's going on? All right, that's it. My name is that's who I am. That's me. I'm Billy, and you can find me tomorrow night. The Gorilla Underground only on my X. I am not going to go live on Tony's X. Only on my X if you're interested in watching the show. Okay. And eventually, I think in a couple of weeks, I am going to leave Ground Zero Plus. So it will only be on my X and then on YouTube as well. That's at some point, if I ever get around to setting that up. But for the time being, if you want to watch the show, it's going to be on X. So just giving you a heads up. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, I think I have a guest. We're trying to set up revolving guests, once a month appearances for certain people. Guard Goldsmith is going to be on Jeremy Roshka show, and a couple of others, and we'll let you know about anything else that goes on. But that's the deal right now. We're going to rebrand the Infinite Fringe podcast into the Gorilla Underground and start uploading things there, and we'll go from there. See what develops and whether or not I still have a hunger for any of this stuff besides America Unplugged, which I enjoy doing because of my guys. I enjoy. If I didn't do America Unplugged, I wouldn't talk to Don very often. We do talk about fantasy football here and there. I talk to Tony a little bit more often, but he's freaking busy, So I like doing America Unplugged and talking to my guys for a little while. I really appreciate both of you. We're getting up out of here. Tony, play the music. Burn the place down. Let's go. Arson. Now,